On today's episode of Flintknapping Friday, we're going to make this blade out of fossilized coral, agatized coral. We're going to knap that, and that's one of the blades that's going to go on our coral deer skinner knives that we're a big fan of around here. And so once we put a handle on it, that's about what it'll look like. And when it's all said and done, at least until it sells, it'll be in our special collector's pieces once it's completely finished, and you'll be able to find that on Hunt Primitive. But anyway, let's get into the build. Hey folks, Ryan Gill here with Hunt Primitive, where we entertain, educate, and inspire. And this is our new series, Flintknapping Friday, where we're working hard to get you where you want to be in your own flint knapping journey. We're going to be breaking different rocks into different styles of points and blades and using different tools for those different jobs. And so there's going to be something for everybody and something different in every single episode. The very last thing I want to mention before we start on the project is if this is your first time with the channel or your first time flint knapping, before you watch this video, I highly recommend the Flint Knapping for Beginners video, which I'll link down in the description. Alright, let's have some fun. Let's start off here with a piece of agatized coral, or fossil coral. I guess it's not truly agatized, but that's what flint knappers call it. But, so don't crucify me if you're one of the rock nerds and you're like, that's not agatized. Anyway, about 2.5 million year old coral from Pasco County here in Florida. And we're gonna run copper today, and we'll start with the big bopper. This stuff usually gets, so like that's your heat treat. You know, you can see everything here, it's all heat treated, so that's how it's going to look when it comes out of the heat treat. And then when you break a piece off, you see how much waxier that is. It really livens the color. So that's what we're working with today. Beautiful, beautiful piece of rock. So this one ought to have some really beautiful color, and we'll probably take our time to try to make a really nice point. But we'll do the copper tools this time, and then next time we'll do the indigenous tools. Man, look at that color. Love those blues and reds and the that real sheeny, waxy look to it. Sometimes if I get this one's probably a little bit too thin, maybe not, but I'll take little debitage pieces like that are really really pretty, and then I set them aside, and then my youngest son Dalton, he puts them in a rock tumbler, and he just absolutely loves doing that. So I always try to save some pretty stuff for him. And what we're doing now is just kind of cleaning up any of the cortex that's on it and kind of defining out where the point in this thing's actually going to be. And by working all the way around it, I will get a little bit of an idea of if there's any crummy spots. It looks like there's a little natural fracture line right in here, but that's right on the edge, so not too worried about that. Looks like it's fine and it's healed anyway. Just making sure there's no real crummy spots. It's a pretty good flake platform to take right off there. There's a little teeny tiny arrowhead piece right there. Let's set that aside. Man, that's gonna be a pretty piece. I've been napping with a lot more antler stuff lately because of our last Clovis project. And so it actually feels foreign to me to be using as much copper right now, and I'm forgetting to abrade as much is typically needed when using copper compared to the antler. But and as we get in a little bit closer on it, I'll start giving a little bit better direction as to what I'm doing. Just working straight around, looking for any troubled spots. I wish we were going to be able to preserve more of this this color here. I'll do what I can to save this. By the time I clean this up, I'm worried it's going to start shrinking out because you can't really see it on this side. And I mean, it's still pretty rock, but I mean, this is right here's where all the color is, and I'm worried that by the time we actually work this piece in, I'll try to work it over to this side, but I'll have to try to clean this one up really nice if I want to preserve that color. I'm not usually a big color person. I usually just try to make the best piece I possibly can, but I know the average person would love to see a point with that in there right there, so I think that's what we'll kind of work towards. I'll just start pushing it over that way. So just like heavy battering, and more so it's because I'm so wide, I have to, you know, I want to move into something I can work with to actually make a point, or a blade or whatever. Alright, move that over. Now because I'm trying to preserve that color side, I actually set my platform up to run really heavy flakes, and that's probably not what I want to do on that side. I should have thought about that, but that's okay. We still have so much material to remove anyway. Instead of trying to run really long flakes across it, I'll clean this face up about as nicely as I can. And then I'll just build that platform on the other side for the big removal. Never really know what you're gonna get when it comes to the coral, because there'll be like little pockets of stuff. It's a little grainier right there, but it's actually not too bad. But we're starting to change the color. You can see we're starting to maybe pop through to some of this white right in here, but it doesn't look like it's on this side, so I have no idea. But coral's really funny about that, and what you'll typically find is the stuff that's right underneath the cortex, so like the limestone covering, is actually the very best rock. The stuff in the middle can be fine too, but typically the closer to the center of the rock you get, the grainier it gets, and that's why when people order spalls of coral, a lot of times they'll have, that one doesn't have a whole lot there, but like the cortex still on it, and that's because you want to skin that really, really lightly, because you know, this really good, the best rock you're going to have is the stuff that's right underneath this cortex. So this cortex would have went right over top, and I was able to remove that. So I try to, whenever we sell these flakes, I try to set up enough platforms that I can remove the vast majority of the cortex, so people just get that really pretty, really slick rock, as opposed to the stuff that's a little bit more towards the middle. Actually, there's a great piece right here that's a nice example that you can see the flake runs this way where the cortex is on top, and it's a pretty nice piece of rock, but you can actually see that it's a little more fine at the top, and then it starts to get a little bit more grainy. Now as we do a heat treat, I haven't hit this one at all. Let me hit that one real fast. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. A lot of times it just turns into pure candy, which it did too. So even that grainy stuff, once you heat treat it, you know, a lot of people would look at one and go, man, it's not a very good piece. Well, that's because you haven't, like, as soon as you set up a platform and hit it, it'll slicken right up. But generally speaking, the best rock, especially if you're napping raw, which we don't nap a lot of raw coral, is going to be that layer right underneath that cortex. Just put that information in your back pocket for a later date, in case you work on any coral. Alright. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I know I'm going to have to try to come back and clean this up if I want this to survive, but I don't necessarily want to make that face perfect right now. I just want to build this platform, so hopefully we can run a little heavier on this side and remove this high lenticular surface. So if I'm going to do that, you go back and watch that Flintknapping for Beginners video, which is really important. I know we plug that a lot, but it's really important for folks just getting started that they go watch that video. Is we're going to raise that center line over to this side, because I want to preserve this if I can with the color. You never know what's going to happen, but I want to raise that platform and move it to this side, so when I braid it, then I can put it down, and actually it would be this way. I can try to run a lot of flakes over this more pinky or orange color side. So I'm just battering that edge. So there's a good place to kind of stop and show you there. So it was out to here, right? You can see where I left it. So I'm battering that edge to move the platform over to this side, so I can run these longer flakes over here. And actually I've got a little bit of junk right here. So I'm going to try to kill two birds with one stone and, yep, knock that off, and then batter my platform. There's another good one right here. I wouldn't mind taking that out. We'll see. That worked pretty good. Oh, I almost hit it again and it wasn't ready. So we work in that copper, and you want to make sure that you really clean up your braid your platform, so your flakes will run a little bit farther. Now I kind of got a step fracture there, but that's okay. I'll clean it up from this side when it's time to get there. Let's see, a little bit more battering. I might be able to work with that. I wouldn't mind taking a little bit more out, but we can get away with quite a lot with the copper. So again, I braid away from, and I don't know that it makes that much of a difference, but maybe it does. But I braid away from, generally, not always, away from the direction that I actually want to remove the flake, if that makes sense. Alright, and I'm going to start. Most people want to jump, they want to jump right in the middle. So we talk about that all the time too in the other videos. And I always say don't jump right into the middle. You want to release the rock that's on the sides. So start over here, like on a bottom corner that's a nice thick spot. Try to run a nice flake across there. Now instead of moving on, I'm going to actually come back and try to grab another one, which I'm not doing a very good job at, unfortunately. There we go. Nice little arrowhead flake there. Put that in the arrowhead pile. Perfect for making those little triangle points, little Madisons. We make one of those on camera. I'm sure you'll see us make one of those at some point, if you haven't already. I'm going to drive this one, really try to drive it out here to center, gets rid of some of that ridge. That one's a little too thin to use. Now because it's got this weird ridge, see if you guys can see what's going on here. I need a nice little pointer stick. So there's a ridge. Here's the flake I just removed. Okay, now there's a ridge that's running right here. And if I hit on this platform, it's not going to follow the ridge. Well, see, the thing is, I can direct it and I can remove this ridge, but I don't want the flake to come into here. I want the flake to come over to the center. So I can't hit right here because it'll just nip this off, or it'll go in here and step fracture. I don't want to do that. So now's where I actually do want to back up and probably take one out of here to try to catch this up. Then I can raise this platform and then come back for this tiny little mound right there. So we'll try that anyway and see what happens. Which that nice little arrowhead flake. Okay, there will show you exactly what I was just talking about. Man, I lost my dang pointer stick. Come on. Okay, so that was where we were just talking about, right? That I didn't want to remove to here because of this ridge. So I just dropped down, found a platform. Well, now we remove this one. So now this is the piece that's left that I was talking about now. I'll probably chip a little bit of this out, and I'll raise that platform just a little bit more, and then I'll kind of nip just, I don't want to be able to run to center on here. Oops, sorry. I don't want to run to center here because I'm worried it's going to step fracture. So I'm going to remove a little bit of this crummy stuff here, and then I just want to nip out to about here on it as opposed to go into center, because we're actually getting nice and flat. Now there is a little bit of a ridge that runs right here as well, and maybe by the time we nip this out and nip this out, we'll have a nice platform that I can run a big flake. We'll see what happens when we get there. But in the meantime, I need to, this is well, now I just did it instead of showing it to you, and I wish I would have done that. If you want to rewind a second, catch back up and watch that again, that thing that I said was a little crummy section right here, how I set up that platform, it's not sitting here and hitting it like this. I'm actually using that really steep, like it's not 90, but I mean a 90 would be like this, you can't do it, but it's going the wrong direction, and then I'm taking a hit off to remove that without trying to run a long flake. But what I'm doing is I'm just removing enough. I'm trying to see if I have another one. I could probably do it right there. So yeah, this angle I'll take, really steep. You don't hear a lot of people talk about that, but I can do that to make a quick platform. So if you don't have a platform and you need a platform, more times than not, you can put the piece up on its edge really steep and just make a platform. So stick that information in your back pocket as well. Alright, so now that I made that platform, which was there on that side, I don't wanna go in far. That's good. Boy, it was tempting to hit that one because it was a really nice platform, but I knew it would get to about halfway here and it would hinge on me. So now kind of the same thing here, but I don't need to set up a platform because we have one. I just want to nip that off just like that. Okay, and then here's where I said we had this little bit of, maybe one more little piece. Hold on. There we go. We got a nice little platform here, and this is that ridge that's running. You can see the ridge following right along, and I would like to build this platform up so I can run a nice flake out of here. So to do that, turn it up again on its edge and very light battering, because I just want to develop that. It's going to make a mess on this side, and that's okay, we'll fix that later. So develop that a little bit. And there, we took that out. So that was somewhere in here. There we go. Anyway. Yep. So that was the ridge that I was talking about, and we took that right out. So we're getting nice and smooth there on that side. So I'm going to go ahead and continue down the piece a little bit. Not huge flakes, just to kind of smooth this face out a little bit, which is getting quite nice. And unfortunately, it's like this side is really nice. I kind of don't want to mess with it because it is so nice. This is the side that needs cleaned up, but I'm worried about doing it because we're going to lose the color. But that's again one of the reasons that I've never been a big color person. I just want to make the best point that I can possibly make. But I guess that's all more the challenge, isn't it, to try to preserve colors and whatnot. So I'll go ahead and I'll sacrifice a little bit more of our width because I don't need anything that's that wide anyway. And all this stuff that you can see is really high to this side. It's all like these are our platforms, and it would be to remove into here. Well, I really don't want to remove into here because we just worked really hard to get that nice and flat. So now I'm going to go ahead and raise the platforms by taking strikes down, raise the platform so we can flip it over and remove on this side and smooth this side up too. That's a lot more lenticular, but unfortunately I bet you we're going to lose some color. But we'll keep going and see what happens. So again, we're not trying to remove big flakes. We're just wanting to raise the platform without losing, without losing a lot of our side-to-side width here. So again, it's going to ugly this up, but that's okay because the center of the piece is really nice. Braiding away from where I want it to go, and set up a little better platform here, starting off at an end instead of in the middle. And right here we've got a perfect little ridge that looks like a mess, so we'll do something with it. Okay, good there. Nice one there. One of the things that's important, not only to stop in a braid, especially with copper, but a braiding gives you a chance to actually look at it. So you can be hasty and hit it, and then you'll flip it up and say, okay, I know where to go. A braiding makes you slow down, and while you're braiding, if you're looking at this, your mind can start processing a little bit better. And I swear that your eyes know what to do better than your actual head does. And then your eyes tell your hand what to do, if that makes sense. Nice flake running across there. Now this is one of those same scenarios that we had on the other side, where if I try to keep driving the flake into here, I'm going to step fracture really bad. So I actually have to jump ahead and try to remove some flakes a little bit closer here in the center, which I don't love to do, but I got to do it. Worked out okay. Ooh, that was a nice one. Look at that one. So really ran that one across. We didn't lose too much of the color either, which is nice. Really slim that out. And I got to be careful because there's a little bit of a dish here, and if I go wailing on that preform or that platform, I'm gonna step fracture it right there. So if I step fracture it right there, you'll know that I did exactly what I said we shouldn't do. So I'm just wanting to develop that platform a little bit better, and instead of hitting it square away, I'm actually going to come to this other side because I want to remove from here, but I have some stuff hanging on, and that's where I'm worried it's going to step fracture. So I'm hoping if I come in from this angle, it'll feather out, and then I'll be able to feather it this way as opposed to just coming in hard, step fracturing right there. It was okay. Wasn't quite as fun as I wanted it to be. Just clean that up just a little. Alright, I think we can try that one now. I'm going to make that, grab one of my kind of blunt pressure flakers. I just want to develop that platform. Just a little bit. So I developed the platform a lot nicer, but it's a little bit steep, so I got rid of that. So I just want to come back and just trim a little bit of that back off, and I'll show you this platform. So we're wanting to run it to this spot right here and run right up this ridge. You can see there's a little ridge right there. I want to run it, and ideally I want to kind of feather it out right there. So that's the platform now that we've developed, and it was a little too steep, so I had to nip it back a little on this side. So now we've got a really nice platform to hopefully knock a good one off. That was it. So that's exactly that platform we just set up, and I was hoping that it would get real bulby, and it did. It just took out a really nice flake, and that's just a tad bit too small for a arrowhead flake, unfortunately. So luckily we're saving some of the color. Come back on this side, I don't want big ones. I just want a couple little cleanup flakes. Beauty. Ooh, almost got hasty and hit that one. That would have just made it worse. Little one. Alright. Nice little flake there. Clean up one more little spot right there. Okay, it's starting to look pretty nice. Alright, let's start. So we got this backside here. That's the side we cleaned up first, and I told you I would make some trashy stuff and we would clean it up later, which we did. But we're nice and flat in the center, really smooth, no step fractures, nothing goofy going on there. Same thing here, really smooth, really nice. A little bit of stuff to clean up around the edge, but otherwise we're really nice. So let's start working up to what I'm starting to visualize as being the tip of the blade. And because this is the gnarliest side, I want to try to set up platforms to run across here. But it's really asking me to take a couple more out of here. I guess I'm not in love with the idea of doing that. I could make a mistake, but luckily I didn't. It's actually a little grainy right there because that's getting into the closer to the center of the rock, more likely. Little grainy, but we're working with it. Okay, that one worked. Little one right there. Okay. This side's really, really nice through the where the center of the point's going to be. It's really smooth. I really don't want to mess with it too much. All the outside stuff we can clean up later. We still have this one spot right here that I'm really torn about because we've got this hinge, you can see where somebody hit it and shouldn't have, and hinge that one. I have no problem making the point and just developing this up and knocking this off. I was just really trying to preserve this color, and unfortunately I think we're going to lose a lot of this little tip color that I was excited to hang on to. And I think I'm just going to have to, because even if I develop this up, I would actually have to develop it all the way into here to run this over. So that's kind of what happens when you get in a rush and make a mistake early on. But so let's just go ahead and hope we don't lose too much of it, but I think we're going to lose about all of it. Okay. A little knapping lubricant. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of a gamble here because I'm trying to preserve as much as I can. I don't think we have the optimal platform, but since we're using copper, I might be able to kind of force through it a little. I got lucky on that one. Definitely got lucky. If that was with antler, I wouldn't have stood a chance of getting that. There's another little one right there. That was a little less lucky, but still worked out. Alright, I'm going to have to take some off of this other side, unfortunately. Even though it was nice and I didn't want to mess it up. There we go, another nice flake there. Alright, let's raise that platform again. Still trying to get that last little bit of turtle back out right there. And definitely not loving it. I think I'm done with that big bopper for now. think I lost my other little rascal, but I got an old one right here. I'm gonna try to freehand that one, maybe. So give a little support under it with my finger. There we go. Ran right across that one. Perfect. Got rid of that. Sacrificed a little of that color. But ran right across that turtle back, and now there's just another little hump. I think we're going to save that one for indirect percussion. There's another little one right here. Very good. Actually, they made that first one where I said, I wanted to get that in with indirect. It actually developed that even more. Made us a little bit of a step right there in the center, but I'm not too worried about it. It's pretty light. It's very even. Almost can't even get it with my fingernail. And by the time I clean this up and run a couple more flakes, that'll probably go away. I got maybe one more right in there. Study that piece a second, decide what I want to do with it. Put that tool back. Boy, those are handy having those little boppers like that. And I always, I would say 95% of the time when I use one of those little rascals, as I call them, if you're familiar with that, I almost always use that freehand. I don't really like to use the bigger ones freehand as much, unless I'm doing the antler tools, and then the little axle billets that I use all the time. I almost always use those freehand. So, all right, boy, it's looking really nice overall. Nice leaf shape on it, getting pretty clean. We are going to have to remove some more of this, and I'm not liking it because I want to leave it, but I got a couple ridges here I need to get out, and I'm worried we're going to lose a lot of that white. I really don't want to. I think we'll have some that's going to remain in the center at least, and hopefully on the edge. So let's maybe switch directions here a little bit. It's like, instead of getting really ahead of yourself and just beating on stuff, it's awfully handy to just stop and study for a minute, set up different platforms. Followed that same little step fracture line that I started with that other one, so we'll have to clean that up. I mean, it's not necessary, but it would be nice. I'm going to develop that, and I don't want a big long flake, so I'm going to decrease my angle a little bit. That was perfect. That was ideal. Using the big end, the big copper end of the indirect stick. That's another one of those handy things that we talk about too. That the little bit end, you shouldn't be using that to put up and then taking these big giant wailing swings on it, because that's not what it's for. That's what this side's for. And you don't have to use, again, the whole piece. You use like a little corner of it. It takes a very long time to make these ones round. Actually, I've never rounded one off, so you kind of maintain these square edges, and they're really good for lining up, and they take a lot more abuse because you can't bend one of these, obviously. Nice little flake right there, and I don't need to beat the crap out of this thing either. Ooh, slipped off at that time. Kind of ran to that same goofy little line that I've got. We're not going to run over it now. All we're going to do is run straight into it. That's overall pretty good. I could take more out of here, but honestly I kind of want to preserve that little bit of white. So because of that, I'm just raising a platform now to get this side. And I could raise the platform with the billet too, or even the pressure flaker, but since I'm in the indirect position, alright, I don't think, I'll switch to a little smaller bopper. There we go. Oh, still didn't get it. That's not good. I was hoping I'd run right over top of it, and I was about 1/4 of an inch short. Man, that stinks. Alright, I caught up to it that time, but there's still just a little bit here, but I can live with that. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn nice. And that side's looking pretty good. Alright, I think we're actually about as flat as we want to be at this point. So we'll go ahead and just start cleaning up these edges, and then that'll open up to any of these other little ridges. Little tiny turtle back here, I kind of dove in where I told you I had everything but that 1/4 of an inch. It just dove in and got it, but it made a little pocket. But that's alright, that pocket's probably just going to stay there, and we'll catch everything else up to it. But yeah, as we get rid of some of this trash along the edge, it'll probably open up little platforms to maybe get teeny tiny turtle back there, and one right there. So overall, pretty okay. I'm just going to kind of batter it into the shape now that I'm looking for. I don't want to get crazy with my hits and make any deep hinges that I can't get back out without reducing the blade even more. Nice light taps. I'm going to true this base up a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to get rid of that color. I really didn't want to get rid of it, but it's going to have to come off to get the base anyway, so. It was a shame to delete that color. Ooh, almost made a mistake there. There we go. It's like you just kind of feel when you make a hit that wasn't quite right, and luckily it wasn't with enough power to force that step fracture. So I was able to make a correction before it happened. That's why sometimes too, and I think it just comes with experience, that you'll see me line up and I'm very confident in a hit, and then I'll take it, and then there's other times that I'm not real confident and I do a couple lighter ones, and then I do it a little harder every time until it releases. And even when I hit it, sometimes I just change that angle ever so slightly, so it's like little practice hits. But if you tap it really light and it comes off, typically it's because you hit the platform perfectly. And what I typically see folks do, and I can get guilty of it as well, is you have a platform and you really like it and you hit it and you tap it real light and it doesn't go, and you keep hitting harder, and now all of a sudden you just bash the edge up. It's like if the flake wants to come off, you'll find that a tiny tap will just send that flake right off perfectly. So now, I mean, if it's a big flake you have to remove, then obviously you can't just give it a little tap. You've got to, you know, if you're using the bigger bopper, taking big pieces off, then you need to set that platform and you need to have confidence and send it across. But, you know, this is another great example of that. So just tiny little tap, took off exactly what I was looking to get. I'm barely tapping it. And when it's not right, it's not right. When it is right, it's beautiful. We'll take just a really quick break to mention, so when people ask where to get this stuff at, you can get rock and tools and combo kits, anything that you'd need for flint knapping at huntprimitive.com, which we'll put a link down in the description. And it doesn't matter if you get from us or you get from somewhere else. That doesn't really matter. What the really important thing is that you're putting your hands on some tools and on some rock, and you're getting to work making some stuff and having a ton of fun. See, wrong angle and it's not going. Don't hit it harder. I braid it up. Get your angle right. And then remove it. Crush that edge a little bit. Reset. Okay, that one still doesn't want to go. So instead of forcing it, develop the platform just a little bit with a pressure flaker. Bet you she'll go now. Nice and easy, right there. Come on, there it is. Barely hit it. Yeah, see, we don't have a whole lot of that left, do we? Kind of unfortunate. It's looking good though. Unfortunately, it's really asking me to remove more here, but if I remove that, it's just going to get rid of the color. So I hate to do that. I won't do it yet. I got a little bit of a mess up spot right there at the base. We're going to try to tap it off just like we did. It's just nice little gentle hits. Okay, so we got a step fracture on this side, little crummy spot. You can see that. That was one of those ones I said we got to get rid of that. So we flip the whole point around. And I want to be a little bit more careful about the battering and the platforms that I make, because I don't want to step fracture this side. So my angle needs to just be a little more severe and a little lighter hits. Okay, and then same deal, just little light taps. If they come off, they come off. Nope. Braid, study, little tap. Good one. Very nice. Another really nice one right there. Beauty. Again, I'm braiding away from where I want it to go. A little bit of a funny platform, but we got it. Ooh, I almost pushed that one a little hard. Alright, I got a little bit of a bigger spot I kind of want to remove. So I'm going to re-batter that edge. There we go. It's a nice one. Little tiny platform right there. Got it. Alright, now I'm going to jump ahead, and I'm actually going to come from the tip, and I'm going to work back to the center. Oh, that, like that grainy, coursey stuff got me. It's probably my hit as well. I think I was going a little bit too fast and did that, but that stone didn't do me any favors, that's for sure. Alright, I ran over top of it that time, but I got that little piece. It's quite tiny overall. Come on. Okay. Luckily, I think by the time I just kind of clean this up, I don't want to lose too much of that color, but again, I think it's inevitable. I think I'll be able to catch that little tiny fingernail from this side. Not with that hit, I won't. Hate to get rid of that color, but it's got to go. That white, I should say. I guess it's not color, it's just the most colorful spot. Alright. Switch out again. And I think we're going to go a little bit finer indirect. Starting right at that tip. Well, nice hits. This is where that little fingernail is. So I want to try to get rid of that, but I think if I hit it, I'm just going to actually make a mound right there, so I'm not super happy with that. I might skip down and try to catch up somewhere else. Maybe not. Might clean this backside up a little bit. That's a tough one right there. That is a tough one. Making the point better and better, but we're losing all that prettiness, huh? Got at least this one nice spot. Alright, this is make Ryan nervous. Little flake here. Yep, ran right across it. I got rid of all of it, but one teeny, I mean, it's almost like an inclusion or something in the rock, but that whole little step fracture ridge, I just yanked it out with that indirect. I can take that teeny tiny little thing. That doesn't bother me in the least. Alright, so now when I'm going to set this up, I don't want to set up to drive in. I'm actually driving from this way almost to the center. So when you see when I line this up, I'm directing the flake down the ridge. Okay, did that one, so now it just moved the ridge down further, which is fine. Same thing. There it is, got it. Made another teeny tiny little fingernail right there, but it's in that one little pocket of grainy, crummy rock, but still pretty darn acceptable. Develop that platform just a little bit. That should do it. Oh boy, that was a bad one there. I had a feeling that was going to happen, but see if I can catch it now from the other side. But, yep, I just made I mean, it's not horrendous, but it wasn't nice and smooth. It's still in just that grainy pocket. There's one little grainy pocket there, and it's just been a nightmare ever since. So luckily, this side's actually smoothing. So as I work down and get just a little bit more right here, I think when I come back and I true this up, I'm hoping I'll be able to catch it up from that side. I mean, even if it stays in there, it's not the end of the world. That one grainy pocket just keeps getting me. Now I got about one more hit over here, and if it doesn't clean up nice, I'm going to have to switch. There it is. That was very nice. Very nice flake. Ran all the way across. And that's really what we wanted to happen here, and it didn't. But we got a lot nicer rock back here. So I got one more maybe right here. I'll jump ahead. Yep, perfect. Ran that one across. Alright, so then we got a little bit of that trashy spot here. So what we're going to do, I want to remove this grainy spot, but there's also a little high spot here. So I'm going to do a little bit of platform raising. To be careful doing it over here. Actually deleted a little bit of that grainy spot, which is good. Develop this platform. Didn't do so good. I'm going to actually abandon that little spot because it's so far in that by the time that I get up to remove that, I'm hurting my platform for here, so I changed my mind. I'm going to develop the platform to get this one little spot, if I can. Definitely getting close. Alright, good. Almost there. That one right there, I'm hesitant to hit it. I got it. I could feel it come off my finger. Alright, we got lucky again. Now this platform that I wanted to get that little junk off of. Hunt down my pressure flaker that rolled away. We just developed that platform and pushed the center line over to that side just a little bit, and it's not bad. I'll give you another up close here. So at this side, looking pretty good. I mean, less than fingernail, couple little hinges there, not bad at all, especially for that grainy spot that we had to deal with here. And then this side's just got that little bit of junk that I set the platform up right there to try to come in and remove some of this. I don't think we're going to try to drive all the way across. I would like to, and we may, but I'm a little hesitant because that trashy spot's right here, so I know very well it's in here too. I have one little layer of nice slick rock that I'm looking at, and I guarantee you when I hit it, that nice slick rock is going to turn into that. So that's what I'm kind of worried about. Overall, it's still pretty acceptable. That was pretty decent. Pretty decent. Come on, give me one more. No, didn't want to give it to me. Left just a tiny little bit of something there, but not bad. Still not bad at all. Alright. Just raising that platform to come in here just a little bit. And walking that edge right down. Ooh, that's a nice one there. Cleaned up one of those little ridges. That's a good one. Hear flake shooting all over the shop. Right there. Ran that one up, terminated right there. Perfect little ridge. Boy, that one spot's just ugly because we know that ugly spot's down in there. So I'm going to raise this platform about one more time. That is very nice. Alright, let's little taps. steady it second. Good. There we got it. Oh, thank goodness. That was a ugly, ugly little spot. And we took it out. A little bit more. But the worst of it's gone. Looking good. Ooh, I could feel it hit that crummy spot again. And it left us with just a little bit of junk right there, and now I'm not very happy about that now. Just that little bit of junk, and it's really not the end of the world. That I know we could get to a point where we just end up improving this dang thing to death, but it's like I could just feel it. We went out right underneath that slick spot that I said, oh yeah, and we removed it, and then we got right into that same coarse stuff. So best thing we can do is probably not fuss over it and improve it to death. Just continue on with the point, clean it up. Very nice. Boy, I can't expect anything better than that. A little bit of cleanup on this side. Very nice flakes. Get off there. Really nice. And I gotta get rid of just a little bit of that. Ooh, that was close. Better. Sometimes you hit it and your angle is not right and you can just feel like the shock in your hand, but I guess that's why you don't hit it super hard every time. You hit it super hard every time and you hit that shock just right, you'll blow this thing right in half. I actually think it's really hard to break points using indirect percussion. When people do, it's just because they're hitting it too aggressively, because you don't need to. We talked about with the bopper stuff too, that if you're just hitting it harder all the time, you're gonna break it. If the flake's meant to come off, it should just pop right off. Clean that base up a little bit. Was not an ideal hit. There we go. Basically ran a nice flute up the center of it, for what that's worth. Not making a Clovis though, so otherwise I'd have fluted it a long time ago. Almost there. Definitely have a nice blade at this point. Another really nice flake. I'm almost, it's like I'm intentionally leaving a little bit of this high spot because I didn't really get rid of all that color. And if I do, I know that I'm going to wipe it out. So we might be able to clean up a little bit, but so that was a concern that I was going to have from the very beginning, that we weren't going to be able to keep a lot of it, even though we're going to try. That up for a minute. Let's do a little bit of pressure flake. Kind of crushing cleanup here. Well, I want to hit that real bad, take that spot out, but that's where that color is. I do too. I want to hit that because I don't like having that. It's not a bad high spot, but it just bothers me. Yeah, if I hit it, boy, it's going to get rid of it. Well, I sure don't want to, but I kind of do at the same time. Alright, I'm gonna try one more. It's either gonna go or it's not, and then I'm not gonna fuss with that little grainy spot, but I got one platform to try to take that turtle back off. Nope. It did not go. In fact, it made it just a little bit worse. That's a bummer. I think we can cheat it out a little bit. Take a micro flaker and reach up underneath it. Grab onto some of those little hinges. There, we got a little piece of it there. It's like a crystal pocket kind of thing right there. See that thing? And it's not nice, slick, smooth rock like everything else. It's stupid little hard, coarse, grainy job. And it's, again, not the end of the world, but what sure is annoying. Especially when the rest of it's looking so nice. But yeah, absolutely, that spot with that color is a little bit higher. Not loving that. But again, you just improve it right to death, or you don't worry about the color, you can just make the blade. Still a nice pretty piece of rock one way or another. Yep. Whoever gets this piece, you watch this video and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If I decide to leave this, that there's a perfect platform to run and smooth. And it's not bad. You just, once you look at that platform, you're like, man, look at that platform. That would be perfect to run this right here. Well, you're going to lose that little bit of color that makes it pretty cool. So, you know, and it's not the end of the world to leave it in. It's just that perfectionist mindset of I don't like leaving a hump anywhere. I'm going to clean this side up just a tad bit more. I'm not so worried about losing anything on this side. Doesn't need much work, just a couple little taps here and there. Couple good pops. Right there. That was nice. Alright. Gonna do a once. Boy, I want to hit that so bad. Man, does that just gets under my skin. Yeah, I want to hit that. Alright, we're not gonna do it though. That one little spot there, not loving it, but again, it's so slight. I removed a good chunk of it from the opposite side, running coast to coast. I didn't get all of it, but I got a really nice chunk of it. So just sacrifice just like a 1/4 inch of tip. And then I think we might be able to walk it down and get almost the rest of it. Oh yeah. Yep. One more little piece of it. Boy, we're getting close. Ooh, baby. And what's going to happen is we're actually, when I hit this, it's going to make a little bit more of a step fracture on this piece, but it's probably going to give me enough that I can get a microflaker on there and pop the rest of it. That's more or less what I'm expecting. Well, I just blew a big chunk of it off, so that's pretty close. It's like just that little bit of sacrificing a 1/4 inch at the tip. Really made quite a difference. Now there's not much there at all, just a little bit. A little bit bigger of a bite than I wanted. I think we're getting into some dangerous territory where I'm trying to make that perfect, and I don't think we're gonna get it perfect. So I need to quite literally stop trying to get that piece as perfect as I want it, because it's a lot better than it was. try try the microflaker again on a couple of these little spots. It's that flat blade, that notching tool too, so the microflaker is kind of skating off of it. We might be able to grab it with copper. Ooh, that come close to getting me. I mean, that is a heck of a concrete, or like a crystal pocket right there. That does not want to give it up. Ooh, little piece of it. Here we go. Alright, that was the worst of it. Tell you what, I just about live with that. Just about live with that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Behind, don't mess with it. Stop messing with it. Stop messing with it. I'm just going to pressure flake. See if I can pressure flake right over top of it. Just blending it in just a little bit. Get another tiny little piece there. So it's so good to have all these extra tools. There we go. I tell you what, we got 95% of it. There's a little bit of crusty going on right there. 95% of it is a lot better than what it was. A little flake there. I think we're ready to finish out now. What do y'all think? All right, let's finish it. Knock this thing out. Alright. So we're just going to refine the shape a little bit. Just a nice little bit of shape refining. Really close where we want it anyway. Doesn't really need much at this point. And this style of blade does not, it doesn't get any notches or anything. It's going to set down into the handle. So we definitely don't need to chip that in. All we're doing is, I'm just kind of eyeballing the shape for how I want it to look when the whole thing is done. Even though I want to hit that real bad right there and take it off, I'm not going to. I mean, it's so slight. I know it's a good platform that I could run it, but I think whoever gets this knife is probably going to be happy that that's still there. They'll look at it and say, yeah, I could see he could take one more out of there, but if you do, then that little bit of pretty is not there. So when this thing's hafted in the handle, it's going to look about like that, which could be pretty darn cool. That's why I love these coral deer skinners. They're really nice knives. Alright, I feel pretty good about the shape. I think that'll set down into a handle really nicely. So, just dull that bottom and where the hafting is going to wrap around. Dull that out just a little bit. Clean that up. And that, I believe, we got one more little spot right there. I'd like to take that out if I can. Come on. There it is. Got it. Okay. In fact, there's a little teeny hinge. I'll pop that. There it is. Got it. There it is. Got the rest of it. Alright, good. That looks really nice. So, alright, let's sharpen it and then it's done. So I'm going to come up past where the hafting is going to be. I want to dull all that up, of course, because when it's in a handle and you're going to haft around that and you're holding it, you want your hand sliding up on it. And I don't want to use a little fine, little copper one, because the way that I'm starting to sharpen these now, it's different than I do the Scary Sharp arrowheads. It's not quite as fine. You don't want those little needle sharp tips for a knife blade quite as much, not as pronounced as like an arrowhead, because on the arrowheads the job is to hit in there one time and do a massive amount of damage on one hit, and you expect that edge to deplete. Well, we don't want the edge on a knife blade to deplete as fast, and then also if you're using it and you run it through hair or hide or whatever, you're just going to rake all of those really fine serrations off anyway. So it's a little bit different of an edge than it is on the arrowheads, and so it's more almost of a single bevel, so I'm not going back to define all those little needle sharp tips, but then I'm going to look down it, and anywhere that it's got just like a little high spot that we could remove a flake, and these are random. So what I'm doing is on this one side I kind of do that same row of flakes about as wide as your flaker, like on a flaker, and then skip a flaker, so this way when they meet it creates those little sharp tips, but I don't want those needle sharp tips. And on an arrowhead you'll see I flip it over and then I go back in and I develop them even more, so they're really curled up serrations, and that's perfect for the arrowhead stuff. On the blades, because I don't want those little needle sharp serrations that are going to shear off when we're using this thing, I'm doing more of like a heavy sharpen on one side, and then I look down it and say, okay, is there any high spots, and then I flip it over and just nip those little couple spots off, so we've got a little smoother edge. So you can see it's not as sharp looking, compared to the arrowheads, but it's very, very sharp. So even when and I'm starting to do this a lot more too, man, you can still feel how sharp it is. And so all that work that we've been doing on skinning animals with these, tearing bison apart, starting to realize how important it is to have just a really well-defined edge like this. So absolutely sharpened, but not trying to make them with the same edge that you would an arrowhead. And that's I'm sure we'll talk about that in a time as well on the atlatl points, where atlatl points are going through a little bit different of a process, and that's why some of the, like a lot of the paleo points or even early archaic points may not have as much serrations compared to some later points. I mean, they still will absolutely have serrations, but they're not that super defined that I was talking about, and I think that has a lot to do with the durability of the edge, especially when they're carrying multiple spears at one time, potentially running with them and throwing them all the time. So again, different topic for a different day, but I think we're set to go there. That's quite sharp. I'd have no problem skinning a deer with that at all, and it's really a pretty little piece. That coral, some nice little banding looking stuff and some freckles on it, and nice little color. So check that one out. So we'll put that one on a walnut handle, and that's a perfect Flintknapping Friday blade for one of our deer skinner knives. Ready to roll.